Welcome back to Stu Studio, Conservative Takes on Music. So the long-awaited Bad Bunny halftime show happened at the Super Bowl over the weekend, and it went over just fine. Something I will say is that the set design was awesome. They had a really colorful, intricately designed mercado in the middle of the field, and Bad Bunny was dancing on all sides of it, showing the different details that they threw in. And at one point in the show, it made a nice little stage for him to kind of dance on. But the rest of the time, he was walking around in between all those people dressed as bushes that kind of looked like agave bushes, but not really. They brought on full telephone poles that people were pretending to work on and dance on. And they had plenty of little skits and sketches planted throughout the bushes as well. So he would walk by like people playing dominoes, or he would walk by a little kid watching TV and hand him a Grammy, which was not Leon Ramos, the little kid being held by ICE. It was a child actor named Lincoln Fox. So go fuck yourself, Ed Krasenstein. But as for the performance, I definitely thought that it was subpar. Mr. Bunny was singing unintelligibly, but not just because it was in Spanish, because he was deep-throating the mic and it was muffled. And then he made the bold choice to open with the song singing about how many girlfriends he has. How people think he has too many girlfriends and how he's never going to marry them. I mean, not really American family friendly, but maybe he thought that since he was singing in Spanish, it would just be Latino family friendly. I'm not entirely sure about that stereotype. And when he finally went on top of the mercado so that the audience at the actual Super Bowl could see him, there was some kind of wedding ceremony going on, which I don't really have an opinion about. It was just kind of stupid to throw in there. And then he said, I believe the first English words of his entire set, he said jump around while he was on top. And then he proceeded to not jump around. He just shook a little bit. But when he fell through the middle of the roof of the mercado into someone's, I guess, living room, it was supposed to look like it was clearly pre-filmed. And I thought that would be a perfect time for like a wardrobe change out of his all-white football uniform and maybe throw on that dress that he was talking about wearing. But no, he just walked out of the front door wearing the same clothes. So there was no point to that at all. Then there was a guest appearance from Lady Gaga singing her song that she did with Bruno Mars. But I already thought that song was a good tribute to old big band and blues singing. So it was kind of a bold choice to do it by herself and turn it into a flamenco rumba kind of thing, but definitely not the best choice. Ricky Martin, however, also had a subpar guest spot. The fact that he didn't sing Livin' La Vida Loca is a crime against humanity. Or at least She Bang. Pedro Pascal was also there because he's everywhere. And his whole performance ended with him spiking the ball after saying God bless America and then naming every country in South, Central, North America. There's really nothing exciting about the entire performance at all. Like when I saw them setting up and saw all those people in bush costumes walking out, I thought it was going to be a sick dance number and the whole maze of bushes was going to disperse and spread across the field, but the entire time, it was really just blocking the actual Super Bowl audience from watching him perform. Like, that had to suck watching in the stadium more than any show in the past. It was visually fine from watching it at home because we had all the close-up camera angles and it moving around the maze of bushes with him and showing the different little setups that they had going on, but nobody there could actually see it. So that had to be especially lame. But there was an alternative halftime show being put on by Turning Point USA. No, I didn't watch this whole thing. I watched, like, the beginning and the end. But I liked the Jimi Hendrix-style national anthem being played on the guitar at the beginning. And I like that Kid Rock came on stage jumping around singing Bow With Da Ba, or however you actually say it when you're sober. And the other country artists performing were fine. But I think what's getting the most attention is when Kid Rock came back on stage under his biblical name, Robert Rich, which I totally forgot that Kid Rock's name is Bob. So I was not prepared for him to be the one coming out. And he sang a decent song called Till You Can't, which is a life advice song saying, like, take the chance while you can until you can't. And life advice songs always get to me. I danced to one at my wedding. He threw in a little turn to Jesus moment in the song too, which I thought was nice. And actually, I thought his voice was impressive when he's belting a country song. Many are saying that he lip-synced the performance or that they pre-recorded it and dubbed over it. And he said that it definitely was pre-recorded, but it was recorded live in one take. And I honestly don't think that it sounded clean or polished enough for him to be lip-syncing over it. I think you could definitely tell that he had a rough voice in quite a few spots, especially on Bow With Da Ba. So I was impressed when he was singing it out at the end of Till You Can't. And pleasantly, Erica Kirk did not make an appearance at the halftime show. I might have lost all faith in her if she did. Now, this halftime show is put on in stark contrast and in direct opposition to the halftime show featuring Bad Bunny, and very much on purpose. They made it very clear that they did not like Bad Bunny's rhetoric about America or about what he thinks of immigration policies or American culture in general, or even his support for the LGBTQ AAIP2S+ community. And actually, it seems like they got a lot of people to switch over. This from The Athletic. Turning Point USA's All-American halftime show draws 6.1 million concurrent viewers on YouTube. Okay, and that's just YouTube. That does not include the live streaming on Rumble or the live streaming on Daily Wire. So it's even above that. And that might not sound like a lot compared to Bad Bunny's 128 million people watching, but that makes it, I believe, the third most concurrently viewed stream on YouTube. I can only find two that topped it. One was a moon landing and one of them was a soccer match. And it definitely affected the numbers of the Super Bowl. This from Yahoo Entertainment. Glass-Steagall reported that 135.9 million people were watching the NBC and Telemundo broadcast between 8 and 8:14 p.m. Eastern Time on Sunday. That dropped to 128.2 million combined viewers between 8:15 and 8:29. That excess of 7.7 million viewers lined up with the halftime show. So they lost 7.7 million viewers during that time. And we know that about 6.1 million of them are watching the Turning Point halftime show just on YouTube. So the NFL definitely noticed. It definitely hurt. And this was a super bold move on Turning Point's part. I know they've been ramping things up since the assassination of Charlie Kirk to try and keep the word out and keep the conservative movement growing. But if they had failed, this would have killed it in the water. They took a shot at the king, and if they had missed, they would have been dead. But they didn't. They nailed it. And all this on their first try. Like, I'm sure Kid Rock was probably the biggest name that they could have gotten who would agree to do something like this year. But just think about what it would be in 2 or 5 years. They could be breaking records with huge names on stage. I know a bunch of conservatives are saying, like, Kid Rock was a horrible choice. He was a bad influence when he was a younger artist. He's kind of a niche artist, but he's the one who agreed to do it. He's the one who took the chance. So we do owe him for that. But now that other artists have seen that it's worth taking the chance, I think they're going to get bigger and bigger and bigger names. Like it's not totally unexpected that they could get Morgan Wallen someday. But I think that all of this is great news for conservatives and the conservative movement because it shows that we have a voice. We have a voice in music and entertainment, and we can make it hurt where it counts. And it's always worth taking the chance to keep America the greatest country on earth. Well, thank you for watching this week's episode of Stu Studio. Let me know your thoughts. And remember, Jesus loves you.